right here where this valley comes out, there's a natural waterway. It's a dry riverbed. That is called a wadi, W-A-D-I. If you went into that wadi, you would find there are rocks all over the place, but they've all been pushed out of the way to make a path.
Tim, the first question most people ask is, where's Mount Sinai? My first question as a geographer is, where was the sea that was parted and crossed?
So what do you think the crossing site, where would that be?
Well, for once, I'm going to follow the conventional argument here.
When I look at the Exodus story through the eyes of a scientist, then it contains a lot of observations which just make sense to modern science.
I think it is possible to demonstrate that it took place in close proximity to Egypt.
I know that some people would say, well, there were probably 5,000, maybe 20,000 Israelites.
This matter of large numbers is a very, very thorny issue.
The stories of the Bible are some of the most fascinating tales in human history. Stories like the fall of the walls of Jericho, the 7 plagues of God's anger that fell upon the Egyptian, and the splitting of the Red Sea as a sign of liberation for the Israelites. While Moses has been seen as a remarkable and highly honored figure with numerous wonders he performed, the splitting of the Red Sea was considered the most astounding wonder performed by him, defying all laws of nature. Almost everyone accepted this notion as a real phenomenon that happened, giving its timing. However, there's a group of people who won't accept this phenomenon as an event which occurred, since they need more proofs to back up this historical event. Join us as we delve into ancient Exodus, and as we look at how scientists finally found evidence of the Red Sea crossing. It is very clear that the Bible is full of stories about the ancient world, some of which can still be seen today. Remnants of ancient civilizations, ancient Jewish traditions, and modern-day Christianity, and even the Dead Sea Scrolls, which holds most of these histories. However, since these events are linked with certain places and people, there still need to be enough evidence for some people to compromise with. Debates about biblical accuracy in certain aspects has been going on for decades, with most focusing on the accuracy of biblical wonders, just like the Red Sea crossing. This is because most of these stories sounds almost like tales written by some ancient legends or even magic performed by ancient wizards as seen in most legendary films, rather than an incident that happened for a purpose. Just like us who quickly accept the stories of some legends as events that happened, we can trust our scientists who never accept anything until they find every little evidence right at the bottom of the matter. Since most of these stories sounds unconvincing to scientists and archaeologists, they use devices that would predate most of these events, such as the use of carbon dating, revealing the exact timing and activities that may have happened within the given range of period. They also investigated these locations to find out more clues. Proven by archaeologists, some of these stories have been confirmed facts, and that they're relevant for human race, doctrines, and for policies. The Book of Exodus. The Book of Exodus is the second written manuscript in the Bible after Genesis. It reveals tragedies the Israelites went through while in Egypt, the liberation of the Israelites, the journey they took from Egypt till the Promised Land, the modern-day Israel, and events that happened while traveling. In the Bible, God seems to be obsessed with the Israelites due to their sinful nature, and will randomly punish them whenever they wronged him. Still in the Bible, God shows his mercy to the Israelites, considering them as his children and won't let any harm fall upon them. This is where signs and wonders starts coming up. God's wrath upon Israel has been known throughout all generations across the chapters of the Bible. So does his mercy. In every generation, the laws of Moses were thought and obeyed to avoid the wrath of God upon them and attract God's mercy. However, all these events that led to the commandments were captured in the Book of Exodus. As the book implies, it captures all the journey of the Israelites from Egypt to Canaan, the Promised Land. While several happenings were recorded within hundreds of years as captured in the Book of Exodus, one stands out. This is the legendary stories of the Red Sea crossing. Previously, the Israelites were celebrating as they got liberated from Pharaoh and the Egyptians to the Promised Land. However, their celebration was short-lived, since they had to cross the Red Sea and escape totally from the Egyptians who followed them with troops, as they were afraid of getting wasted by the Egyptian armies. This is where the story goes wild. According to Exodus, due to fear of the Israelites, the Lord commanded Moses to raise his staff against the water, strict the water, hence the water splitting into two, giving way for the Israelites to pass through dry grounds, with giant waves standing at each side of them. Feeling disgusted and furious, Pharaoh and his troops followed the Israelites into the sea. It took days before the Israelites could reach the other sides of the sea. Pharaoh and his troops were not fortunate enough to catch the Israelites. Unfortunately, the waves collapsed, drowning all the Egyptian armies. Now imagine you were one of these Israelites who walked through this situation. How would it sound to others if you were to tell the story to them? Legendary tales and fiction, right? In fact, who could even believe that an ocean can give way for up to 2 million people to pass through without anyone drowning their enemies and letting not a single person to escape? Now we see that it's very normal for such a story to make it to the next generation, and to even last for thousands of years for future generations to hear about. It grabbed the attention of many people who believe it and termed it as the work of God, showing a sign of liberation, judgment, and to let the world realize he controls nature and everything in it. Using Israel as his favorite nation also explains why everyone believes the story. Due to countless times Israel has been mentioned in the Bible as God's chosen nation. Thus, this explains why everyone believes the story, but while everyone accepts scientists. The debate. Everyone knows scientists as facts machines and as people who can only term something right when they see evidence. Using archaeological techniques, scientists are capable of explaining any event that happened throughout the history of humanity. So according to scientists, something which is believed to have happened through supernatural or divine means is not enough evidence to term it true. Defying all laws of nature, it should be the more reasons they would want to delve deeper into the matter. Therefore, it is termed a controversial issue till a solid evidence is provided capable of dismissing the claim. According to my own point of view, Dead Sea crossing really looks like a matter of tale of fiction. This is because, firstly, no scientific law could back up a claim that water could rise and split itself without an external force like meteorite impacts. What baffles is, it took days that these waves gave a dry path for the Israelites to pass through while standing still. The real debate lies at this point where the water rather goes opposite to the laws of physics, which explains why things would initially fall on Earth's surface, rather than going up, and the forces that exert behind each of the waves that gave way for the Israelites to pass through. At least, the force was powerful enough to collapse the two waves at the edges for that amount of time. According to science, gravity is evenly distributed across the globe as it doesn't take shift or go on brakes. This means the laws of gravity got disrupted in that area, and it can only be explained that the divine force overpowered the gravitational force in that area. However, it hasn't given scientists enough evidence to accept the claim that this area of the ocean indeed was split into two, thus making it to remain an intense debate. Also, the Pharaoh who led the troops behind the Israelites was confirmed to be alive. As archaeologists and ancient text revealed, he ruled the Egyptians for few more years after returning from pursuing the Israelites, before finally lying to rest. This can be true, since some scriptures of the Old Testament revealed that, while pursuing the Israelites in the Red Sea, the wheel of Pharaoh's chariot got broken, forcing him alone to retreat. Another text explains that he even saw the demise of his men as the ocean slowly swallowed them away. This explains why he was confirmed to have ruled the Egyptians after that time. Still not enough, scientists decided to get to the root of the matter. So they made up to find out the exact location as described by the Bible. But this is where it gets raw. Due to the current civilization of the world compared to the days of Exodus, finding remnants of these ancient sites seems more puzzling. Since this event had happened for over 3,000 years and underwater, it is difficult to pinpoint the exact location where the Israelites crossed the Red Sea. The Gulf of Aqaba. Locating at the right spot for the Red Sea crossing has always been the largest difficulty faced by archaeologists. However, the Bible provides the full details of the exact location where this event happened. This narrowed their long journey into focusing on specific places along Egypt's Red Sea coastline. According to this findings, they'll be looking for large water bodies, but not less than 2,000 feet deep. Therefore, lakes and rivers were never conditioned part of the investigation region. During the first attempt, scientists were unable to find out any clues about the searched environment. This was mainly because they searched the wrong area. They searched through the Gulf of Suez, since they thought it was the right place. However, the Gulf of Suez is only about 900 feet deep at its deepest points. At their second attempt, they found the right place with the exact depth as written in scriptures. This region, called the Gulf of Aqaba, is a remarkable location where the Israelites are said to have crossed the Red Sea. The shocking part is, this region is said to be about 5,000 feet at its deepest points, matching the exact depth as described in the Bible. This means, instead of thinking about it as a situation where the walls were just a few hundred feet high, rather, think of it as a situations where the walls were thousands of feet high across the sky, a phenomenon which is taller than the tallest skyscrapers we know in the world. Just like we see ants, this isn't convincing enough since the Israelites would have looked like ants while passing within the walls. Looking at this perspective, the children of Israel went through a lot, as they were bordered by giant waves on each side, while pressured by the Egyptian armies who chased them. More to that, the Bible depicts the sea was divided by a strong wind, meaning the Israelites had to overcome the strong wind as they ran through the walls for the time past. Though these are one of the clues that brought serious debates on this issue, we must not conclude on the fact that the situation wasn't troublesome for the Israelites. I mean, the Israelites quite seem furious as they couldn't trust Moses could take them to the promised land. No wonder they stood against Moses multiple times, saying they would have preferred continued being slaves in Egypt than to die in the wilderness. At this point, they wouldn't have known what to do until they realized the Egyptian troops has already catch up with them 10 days after they left Egypt. Therefore, the Israelites thought there was no way of escaping this situation. The ocean. It would be difficult for one to believe whether the Gulf of Aqaba was the exact location where the Israelites crossed the ocean. Even if we want to believe, scientists will have to find out more clues about this. Therefore, they delved deeper into the search at this area. The Gulf of Aqaba is located in Nuweiba, bordered by 4 different nations including Israel, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Jordan. This makes a lot of sense since the location of the water is situated exactly as described in the Bible according to Exodus. The most important aspect is that it lies not far from Sinai, the place where the Israelites' camp was built. Since this area of the Gulf is near Sinai, it also gives clues on why the people of Israel camped near Sinai. But that is not all. We can observe Pi Hahirith, which was mentioned in the book of Exodus as one of the traversed areas. This name, which means the opening of the mouth and a narrow way which only leads straight ahead, bound by granite walls on both sides. This explains why the Bible describes what happened when the Israelites saw the Egyptians behind them as they stood near the sea, describing that they stood at the same location as we see on the map. It can also be seen as the same location where God held Pharaoh and his troops with a pillar of cloud, preventing them from seeing anything ahead and from pursuing the Israelites. This same location also shares a lot of intricate details about the Red Sea crossing evidence as described in the Bible. This is because the location is the nearest to the ocean as mentioned in the scriptures after a long distance. So, any further location that was described by the Bible can be investigated from Pi Hahirith. According to experts, the side leads to a place called Wadi Water, which was the exact location where all the incident happened according to Exodus. But if we look at the modern-day Wadi Water, there isn't enough evidence, since the area has been transformed with road construction. To wrap things up, the Gulf of Aqaba, just like the Gulf of Suez, is now used as a means of transport for maritime transit, and a large amount of Red Sea cargoes are transported through it. What's so shocking is that most of these maritime activities are carried out in an area where history has its name written boldly, with lots of evidence to be unveiled. Red Sea crossing evidence. Seeing the Gulf of Aqaba as the exact location as described in the Bible, it gave way for scientists to carry out detailed research about the events that happened. Despite the fact that scientists have not yet found powerful evidence, they saw the Bible as a script that harbors some truth, as it can pinpoint the exact location, given the previous few potential evidence. Hence, if they go deeper, we will find out if they're able to accept the claim as a matter of fact or fiction. Hopefully enough, the results of these events started popping up in the same place called Wadi Water. In the rainy season, Wadi Water is usually flooded such that its waters enters the new road which was recently constructed nearby. The shocking part is, scientists found an evidence in the dry riverbed which became the first evidence in their findings. They saw rocks in the location, not as you think, but twisted rocks which shows they were twisted as a result of a force acting on them, to give way for the splitting to take place. This explains why this path may have formed from the wind which divided the ocean, providing a dry ground for the Israelites to pass through. Still at the same location, an archaeologist named Ryan Wyatt found an ancient pillar which seems to have been deliberately placed there by someone. In the beginning, this pillar was not a resemblance to anything related to crossing, since it never looked like something which was that much old. However, this gave scientists a new discoveries and would want to know what the pillar was, and why it was situated nowhere else, but that location. Therefore, the researchers pulled out the pillar from the water. They realized the large part of the pillar was washed off due to heavy tidal waves in the region. The researchers also discovered an ancient Hebrew writing on it which was still clear enough for people to read. To their surprise, the writings on the pillar was written by King Solomon of Israel when he ruled Israel. From scientific point of view, this pillar was raised in this region to mark the exact location of the crossing. If this isn't enough evidence yet for someone to believe that the Red Sea crossing actually happened, let's keep reading, there are more evidence to be unveiled. Recently, a strange fish was discovered in this area near the Gulf of Aqaba. The fish species is believed to only exist in this region and nowhere else in the entire ocean. Nearby individuals believe the same. The locals named the fish the soul of Moses, a strange-looking fish with its own characteristics. Compared to other fishes which lurk around the entire Red Sea, this fish rarely leave this region, and according to description, it is white in nature, with numerous black dots on its body. The natives believe that as Moses divided the Red Sea, the fish also got divided, with more clues about the fact that the fish only exists in that area. Now, if this isn't enough evidence yet for scientists to believe, there are still more stories on the way. While scientists investigated the region according to the biblical description, they realized that this area of the ocean isn't smooth at the bottom, as some places seems far more deeper than the other. This explains why the Israelites didn't walk through a straight path as many of us may understand. Rather, it involved a journey of descending into the deep paths, while ascending at the higher. This highs and lows gave scientists more clues on how to investigate the area. The Bible reveals that Pharaoh and his troops followed the Israelites in the dry seabed but couldn't make it out, since the ocean walls collapsed while they were at the middle of the ocean. It explains that immediately the wind which holds the walls stopped blowing, their horses and chariots started misbehaving and couldn't move any further. Swallowed by the ocean, parts of their chariots started washing up to the beach while most remained stuck underwater with the dead bodies. You could just imagine what these soldiers went through moments before they died. Some text explains that Pharaoh watched his entire troop destroyed in just a matter of minutes, while standing at the coast. This explains why no matter the amount of bodies enjoyed by fishes, there could be at least bones of the soldiers as evidence. What I mean is, we're talking about an entire troop of about 700 Chariots. At least, it'll be difficult for fishes to eat such an amount of people in a short period. At this point, despite what happened to the bodies for thousands of years, archaeologists are sure to recover things like armor, spear, wheel swords, and even bones. Now, for you who have been waiting for the evidence for a long time, this is the good news. After archaeologists went deep down the ocean, they finally got the real evidence that stopped all debate. Thankfully, archaeologists were able to locate some Chariots parts that were located in that region, and dates back to about 3,500 BC. They also found wheels across different areas in the region. What's most convincing is that the archaeologists were able to locate fossils of horse bones which dates to the same period. It won't be convincing enough to conclude that these remains are really evidence of the Red Sea crossing, because it's normal that, since the Red Sea is a maritime zone, it's possible that these remains could be as a result of a shipwreck that happened in the region. But what makes the event more convincing as an evidence of the Red Sea crossing is the remains of the horses. I mean, one can imagine what horses' remains could be doing at the bottom of the ocean. Who knows, maybe a ship carrying horses sank in the same location. What makes this findings more interesting is that most of these discoveries were made in a location where a lot of fossilized remains are still standing there till date. And even with a little bit of swimming experience and oxygen, or with a submersible, you might be able to locate some of these fossilized remains. Who knows, maybe you might be fortunate enough to pick up some Egyptian swords, armors, shields, and even swords. And you know what it means to find an archaeological product. I encourage you to go to the Gulf of Aqaba all by yourself. If you got some experience in diving, who knows what you might uncover. In fact, most of these remains that were found in the Gulf of Aqaba has been sent out to museums, while waiting for more to be discovered. It's quite fortunate that we don't need to stress too much about the exact location. All you just need to do is to get the reference from the Bible and boom, you're there. Now that scientists have proven that the Red Sea crossing was a real phenomenon that happened, and all the evidence has showed up. So, what do you think about these evidence presented by scientists? Do you think they're real evidence of the Red Sea crossing, or they're just remains of a shipwreck? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And if this video was helpful, feel free to subscribe for more contents like this.